Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of today. I'm your host, Sharefa Mohammed MGT.
I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an Infantry Officer.
Russian forces continue coordinated offensive operations across 6 axes, with 2 significant developments. The North Group established control over Malaya Korchakovka in the Sumy region, marking the first reported territorial gain in this sector, while the West, South, Center, East, and DNEPR groups conducted offensive operations, tactical improvements, and sustained attritional engagements. The operational design emphasizes simultaneous pressure to overstretch Ukrainian reserves while systematically degrading logistics and fire support infrastructure.
Welcome to Frontline Updates, the podcast that brings you in-depth insights into military operations from those leading them on the ground. Today, we're joined by Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer monitoring critical missions on the progress of the special military operation as of today. Colonel Oguntoye, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Colonel, let's start with the headline from today's briefing. The North Group has established control over Malaya Korchakovka in the Sumy region. This is the first territorial gain reported in that sector in recent weeks. What makes this significant beyond the simple fact of taking a village?
Malaya Korchakovka is significant because it represents a doctrinal shift in how the North Group is being employed. For the past several weeks, the northern sector, particularly the Sumy and Kharkov border areas, has been characterized by shaping operations, strikes on territorial defense brigades, counterfire radars, and logistics depots. That was preparation. What we're seeing now is the transition from shaping to offensive maneuver. When you establish control over a settlement, it means you've not only seized terrain, but also secured your flanks, established observation posts, and created a forward logistics node from which to project further force. Malaya Korchakovka is likely the first of several objectives. The fact that they also struck Ukrainian mechanized and territorial defense brigades across 6 different locations in Sumy and Kharkov, Potapovka, Miropole, Chervonaya Zaria, Kondratovka, and others, tells me this was a coordinated effort to fix Ukrainian units in place.
You mentioned logistics depots. The briefing notes 3 ammunition depots, 1 POL depot, and 8 material depots neutralized just in the northern sector. That's a massive interdiction effort. Can you walk us through what goes into targeting that many logistics nodes in a single day, and why it matters for the ground forces advancing?
This is where combined arms doctrine meets intelligence preparation of the battlefield. Targeting logistics is not random. It's the product of persistent surveillance, drones, signals, intelligence, and satellite imagery that identify patterns of supply. Ammunition depots are usually located behind the front lines, but within range of artillery or missile systems. POL depots, petroleum, oil, and lubricants are even more critical because without fuel, mechanized units become static bunkers. When you neutralize 11 logistics sites in a single sector in one day, you're not just destroying supplies, you're creating a logistics crisis. The Ukrainian units facing the North Group now have to decide, do they hold their positions with what ammunition they have on hand, knowing resupply may not come? Or do they withdraw to re-establish supply lines, which would cede territory? Either choice benefits the attacker.
Let's move to the West Group. They've taken more advantageous tactical positions without claiming a specific settlement. What does it mean operationally when a group improves its tactical situation versus capturing ground?
That's an excellent question, because it gets to the nuance of how we measure progress in a counter-battery and attritional fight. Taking a settlement is a clear, tangible metric, but improving the tactical situation often means seizing key terrain that doesn't have a name on a map. A tree line that offers observation over an enemy supply route, a ridge line that provides direct fire control over a valley, or a road junction that disrupts enemy movement. In the West Group's case, they're operating across a wide arc from Osinovo and Chervony Oskol in Kharkov to Krasny Lyman, Krimki, and Svetogorsk in Donetsk. Improving their tactical situation in this context likely means they've advanced their forward line of troops to positions that allow them to dominate the no man's land, or they've suppressed Ukrainian artillery to the point where they can move forward with reduced risk. The destruction of 3 ammunition depots and a counterfire radar in this sector is the enabler.
The South Group's target list today includes a mountain assault brigade and an unmanned systems brigade. Why are those specific unit types noteworthy, and what does their presence tell us about the nature of the fighting in Donetsk?
A mountain assault brigade is a specialized formation trained for operations in difficult, elevated terrain. Their presence in the Donetsk sector, which is not mountainous, suggests that the Ukrainian command is scraping the barrel for combat-effective units. They're pulling brigades from their intended operational environments and throwing them into the line to hold ground. That's a sign of strain. The Unmanned Systems Brigade is even more revealing. This is a unit dedicated entirely to drone operations, reconnaissance, loitering munitions, first-person view attack drones. The fact that the South Group is striking an Unmanned Systems Brigade tells me that Russian forces are prioritizing the degradation of Ukraine's drone warfare capability. And they're doing it by hitting not just the drones themselves, but the units that operate them. The neutralization of 3 electronic warfare stations in this sector reinforces that.
The Center Group reported the highest enemy losses again today, more than 375 troops and 14 armored fighting vehicles. They also engaged a National Guard brigade. What does the commitment of National Guard units to frontline combat tell you about Ukrainian manpower?
National Guard brigades are typically assigned to internal security, rear area protection, and counterinsurgency operations. When you see a National Guard brigade in the target list alongside mechanized infantry, marine, and assault units, it indicates that the Ukrainian command is using every available formation to hold the line. This is a classic indicator of manpower constraints. The Center Group is likely applying sustained pressure across a broad front, from Novopavlovka and Sergeyevka in Donetsk to Novopagorodnoye in Donetsk-Petrovsk, forcing the Ukrainians to commit reserve units that would normally be held back for stabilization or counterattack. The loss of 14 armored fighting vehicles in a single day in this sector suggests intense, direct contact, and the neutralization of 4 electronic warfare stations, the highest of any sector, indicates that the Center Group is also prioritizing the suppression of Ukrainian drone and communication networks.
The East Group continues to advance into the depth of enemy defense, striking targets in both Zaporozhye and Dnipropetrovsk. What does it mean to operate in the depth of enemy defense, and why is that significant?
Operating in the depth of enemy defense means your forces are not just engaging the forward line of troops, they are striking positions behind that line, second echelon units, reserve concentrations, command posts, and logistics nodes. When the East Group reports strikes on Boykovo, Vozdvizhevka, Dolinka, Kopani, and Yegorovka in Zaporozhye, and Gavrilovka in Dnipropetrovsk, they are reaching into the operational rear. This serves 2 purposes. First, it disrupts the Ukrainian ability to rotate fresh units forward or launch counterattacks from depth. Second, it creates a sense of insecurity throughout the defensive zone. If a soldier knows that his battalion's reserve position or his supply depot is within range of enemy fire, his morale and willingness to hold ground diminish. The East Group's continued advancement into depth, coupled with the destruction of 2 ammunition and material depots, suggests they are preparing for a larger operational penetration.
The Dnieper Group reported relatively light troop losses, just over 40, but neutralized 3 ammunition depots and 2 material depots. How does this fit into the broader campaign?
The Dnieper Group is performing an economy of force mission, and they're doing it with discipline. Their role is to fix Ukrainian forces along the Dnieper River line, preventing them from being redeployed to sectors where the main offensive efforts are occurring. The light troop losses indicate that they're not engaging in costly frontal assaults. Instead, they're using precision strikes to degrade logistics and electronic warfare capabilities. 3 ammunition depots and 2 material depots in one day is a significant interdiction. Each depot destroyed means fewer shells, fewer rockets, fewer supplies available for Ukrainian units to use elsewhere. This is the strategic logic of economy of force. You tie down disproportionate enemy resources with minimal friendly commitment, and you systematically erode their sustainment. Over time, this creates cumulative pressure that manifests as shortages on the main axes.
Now let's turn to the Operational Tactical Aviation Campaign. Today's briefing reports strikes on Ukrainian energy and transport infrastructure used for military purposes, launch and storage sites for long-range UAVs, and temporary deployment areas across 158 areas. Air defense shot down 6 guided bombs and 255 UAVs. How has aviation evolved from a supporting arm to a campaign-shaping domain?
This is where we see the maturation of Russian operational art. In the early phases of this conflict, aviation was often employed in a reactive, close air support role, responding to ground force requests. What we're seeing now is aviation being used proactively to shape the operational environment. When you strike energy infrastructure, you're not just causing blackouts, you're disrupting the rail networks that move ammunition, the factories that produce military equipment, and the command centers that coordinate defense. When you target transport infrastructure, you're creating bottlenecks that prevent reserves from reaching the front. And when you systematically destroy long-range UAV launch and storage sites, you're conducting a counterforce campaign against Ukraine's strategic strike capability. The scale matters. 158 areas struck in a single day indicates a targeting cycle that is both persistent and precise. The air defense component is equally significant.
Following up on that, the briefing doesn't mention the cumulative total of UAVs shot down has increased again. What does the sustained volume of UAV interceptions tell us about the nature of this conflict and the strain on air defense resources?
Shooting down 255 UAVs and 6 guided bombs in one day demonstrates that the layered air defense system is functioning, but it also reveals the sheer volume of unmanned systems Ukraine is deploying. This is a war where the air domain is contested 24 hours a day, and aviation is now the primary means of shaping the battlefield before ground forces even move. It tells us that unmanned aerial systems have become the dominant threat in the air domain, and that both sides are locked in a constant battle of attrition. For the Russian Air Defense Forces, intercepting 255 UAVs in a day consumes munitions, taxes, radar systems, and requires continuous crew readiness. But it also forces the Ukrainian command to expend enormous resources to generate that many sorties. Each UAV shot down represents a loss of a platform, its guidance system, and potentially its munition. The economic calculus matters. The sustained volume also indicates that Ukraine is attempting to saturate Russian air defense.
Colonel Oguntoye, as we conclude, what are your overarching tactical and strategic implications from the March 31st briefing?
Tactically, we're seeing a coordinated Russian effort across all 6 sectors to degrade Ukrainian logistics, electronic warfare capabilities, and drone operations before committing to significant ground maneuver. The seizure of Malaya Korchakhovka in Sumy is the first tangible evidence that this approach is yielding territorial gains, and it may signal a new axis of pressure that forces Ukraine to reallocate scarce reserves. The consistent neutralization of ammunition depots, at least 8 reported today across all sectors, is creating a cumulative logistics crisis that will increasingly constrain Ukrainian defensive operations.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for the opportunity. I want to emphasize that if you can blind the Unmanned Systems Brigade by destroying its drones and jamming its communications, you remove a critical layer of Ukrainian battlefield awareness. The South Group is systematically dismantling the enemy's ability to see and strike.
This has been Frontline Updates. Subscribe for daily military briefings and in-depth strategic analysis. Visit our platform for maps, transcripts, and exclusive frontline updates from commanders in theater.